Warning, very, very long video. Welcome back, YouTube friends, to part 3 of the journal making series. So we've made the covers, we've collated together all the pages, and now what we're going to do is get all those pages that you've carefully made and bind them into the book so that they all stay put and they can withstand a 2-month trip to New Zealand and not fall apart. Now, the first part, making the covers of this this journal, I went okay, I think. Second part, putting the papers together, went okay. I've been having nightmares about how to show you how to put the pages into the book now and sew it all in. So I'm going to just go for it, okay? We're just going to give it a try. These are the things that you're going to need to do this next part. You should be able to find them around and about the place. This one here might be the one that you have, you may not have. This is called an awl. It's a woodworking tool. I have different sizes of awls, but this is quite a big one, but this is a good one. I've got it against my dark top here so that you can see that this is actually quite a good awl. This is what we're going to need to make the holes in the pages. What could you use instead? I guess if you had a skewer, a kitchen skewer, it's got to be something sturdy, something that could make a really good hole. Or invest in an awl. This was only £3. I don't know what that would be around the world. So in order to save the integrity of whatever surface you're poking holes into, I use, this is an Argos catalogue, but any catalogue, big, thick catalogue is going to be useful. And I've got a couple of these, and they're what I use when I'm doing holes in anything, so that I'm not going straight into my cutting mat or straight, heaven forbid, into my beautiful dining table. So that's going to be a useful thing. We're also going to need a needle and some sort of thread or ribbon or something. And I've got this little pot of needles here. And the sort of needle you want, it's like a tapestry needle. So it's something with a rounded end so that you're not going to poke yourself, and a fairly big eye. Yeah. And then the sort of thread you're going to use to bind this together, I'll leave that one out because that's a good one there. Now I have these threads here, which is the ones I typically use, and this is baker's twine or butcher's string. It's quite common now. You can find it really readily for this kind of craft work. And I'm very fortunate to have a place nearby to me where I can buy it in all sorts of beautiful colours. The beauty of it is it's really strong. So I've got all these cool colours, and also some of the more traditional white and black or red or green. So I've got all these cool colours here. If you haven't got this kind of string, butcher's string or baker's string, it's sometimes called, it's just so incredibly strong. It's not going to snap, and we're going to give it quite a bit of punishment. If you haven't got that, I have in the past used a thin ribbon. This one, the New Zealand Journal, is in fact thin ribbon, which is, it was pretty strong and it's served the purpose for all these years. What else could you use? I think whatever you use, it has to be thin enough to go through the hole you're going to make with the awl, and sturdy enough for you to be able to pull it really tightly so that those pages stay in shape in the right place. Now, I'm going to do this journal this morning, the butterfly one. So I'm going to have a look and see which of these threads looks best on the butterfly journal. Quite like that one. What was that one? No, I think I'll use the pale green one. What would that look like? No, I'll use the pale green one. So we'll get the pale green string, put all the others away. go. So I've got the string, I've got my tapestry needle, I've got my awl or sharp skewer or big thick needle. It has to be big enough to allow this string to go through it, and this is going to go through each of the holes at least twice. And then I've got the book that I'm going to poke into, and a couple more things, just a pair of scissors, kind of handy to have around. And then I have these, which are, in fact, these are artery forceps. And you don't want to know why I've got a pair of artery forceps. Don't ask. I have. But, don't ask. A small pair of pliers will do. Sometimes you need these to pull the needle through if it gets a bit stuck in one of the smaller holes. I've had these artery forceps for a number of years now, and I wouldn't be able to manage without them in all sorts of craft projects, but a small pair of pliers will do just as well. So we'll leave our artery forceps over there. We'll call them pliers, shall we? Strings there, awls there. Why have I got that? I don't know, it's just there. I don't know, we might not even use that. So I'll just put that needle in there like so that we're ready for it when it's ready for us. Okay then, and some space. Obviously. All right, here it is. So the last time we saw this book, we were checking through that the pages were all in the right order, that we liked how they looked when we went through the book, and that there were 10 in each section, and there were 3 sections. 3 sections is enough. 3 sections will give you enough stitching. There were more than 3 sections, we would start to run into problems on the spine. 3 sections is fine. If you want more pages in your book, instead of making another section, make these a bit bigger if that's a thing for you. Because at the moment, you can do however you want to. You can make this however you want to make it. Bigger pages, more pages, whatever. But for now then, we've got everything's ready here to do the next part, which is to hold all of this lot together beautifully. Okay, so we'll just leave the pages to one side for a moment, because the next thing we're going to do then, we're going to make a template. Now, I've got a few books on the go here, so this template is working for all of them. And so what I'm going to do is we're going to go overhead, and I'm going to show you exactly how I make this template. Because just like before, if you want to measure, by all means measure. I don't measure. I'll show you a very quick way of how you can do this without measuring. So I've made this template here, but I'm going to show you how to make your own. That one's my one there. And what we need to do is make a template that will help us to find the right place to put the holes in here. So I take a piece of paper, this is actually quite stiff card, and I'm going to measure it against the actual length of the spine here, from here to there, like so, and then cut that off. Now, in order to get good intervals for our stitching holes, so you can measure this and divide it all up and do loads of maths. I can't, but you can if you want to. But this is how I do it. Here's my, I know this is now the same size as the book. So what I'm going to do with this is fold it in half, exactly in half like so. And I need a pencil. And then I'm going to, you can use a ruler for this if you like. Draw a line exactly where the pencil, where the fold is. Then fold this up here and this one here, and that gives us another mark. And then I'm going to fold this one here, and then to here, and so the first fold was just to the first line, the next fold was to the last line on the card, which then gives me that and that line. And then if I look and I see I've got lines here that need to be folded, so that's there, and that one we'll get by folding to there, to there. And now then, what we've got here, they are equidistant. They're good enough for me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 sewing holes they'll be. Good enough for me. So I'm going to fold it now this way. And draw a line all the way down the middle. So these are excuse me, these are where I want my holes along the spine of the book. So here we go. Look, if we get the book back again, if I fold that like so, you'll see that that is where I want the holes along the spine for my book. So when you finish making that, it doesn't matter which side you use, but write top on it, so that any time you use it, you always know that that's going to the top of your book, so that if these are out ever so slightly, they'll always match up with the pages and with the spine. So I have my one here that is the one I made for these books here, which is exactly how I've just made that one. It fits over the side of the book like so. The top, making sure the butterflies are going the right way, is at the top, and that's how that works there. So what I like to do now is make all the center holes with my awl, and then I take this off and then I eyeball the other two holes. Now please measure if that's what you want to do, but that's what we're going to do next. We're going to take the awl, we're going to take the Argos catalogue. Let's give that a little bit of a... I like to do this when the book's brand new, so that when the book's in use, these will be a little bit mobile. Okay, that's something I like to do. Okay then, so I'm going to pop this on here in the closed position like so. And if you want to now, you can use a little bit, and we will. I'm going to use a little bit of masking tape. That's not going to take any harm like that. It'll come straight off again, this low residue stuff. Pop it on there. And now there is my punching guide, if you like, my hole guide. So I'm fairly confident then that that's in the middle. So now with my catalogue or whatever underneath here now, I can make the holes in the middle. Now, when you're using an awl or any sort of tool for making a hole, the instruction here is to make sure that it goes in at absolute right angles to the piece of work, not like this or like this, so that the hole goes down straight. And it's when I'm doing this, I'm more listening to it really than and feeling it rather than seeing it, because the template's over the top of the book. So I'm going to put the first hole in, and I'm going to listen. And I can hear when it gets through to the other side of the book. I do make these ones quite big because the string stuff is going to go through here more than once. So I'm going to make these holes then. I wonder if that was the best angle for you to see that. Okay, so moment of truth. We take this off now. And what we hope we've got, and we have, is a row of holes all the way down the middle part of our book. Now, I'm actually going to go, I've got the book now overhanging the catalogue just by that much there, that one hole, and I'm going to go all the way through. So I want that hole to be quite big. So I'm going to do that now, all the way down. So it's just off the catalogue. I want these holes to be big enough for me not to have to fight with them when I'm doing the sewing up. Okay, so that's the holes then for the middle section of pages. And we need holes either side of those as well. Now, this is the way I'm showing you to do this is one way. There are many, many, many different ways to do this. If you wanted to now put holes in different places, you could have a bit of fun with diamond shapes here for your lacing up. You can do all manner of different types of lacing up. Lots of different ways of doing it. I'm going to show you this one, and then you can have a think about it and have a play with it and decide how you would like it to be different. I'll show you some examples of that at the end. Right then, so now if you want to, you can make holes here equidistant, but what I now try to do is eyeball it. So I'm going to look for my next for the next hole here and just approximate where it should be, and I'm going to put a hole either side of the spine, and you can see that that one's a bit nearer than that one, but I'm not going to get too excited about that. It's going to be fine. It's not exactly central, but you know by now, if you've followed me by now, you'll know that that actually is good enough for me. I'm happy with that. You get more precise with your measurements if you want to, but I'm just going to go now and put all the other holes so that there are 3 in a row here, and I think there are 7 all the way down. So now that's done, now we've got to put the corresponding holes in the pages. So let's get our pages back. Here they are. Put that to one side for now. And this is why it's kind of important to have top written on here. Not vital, but you know, it's kind of helpful to have top written on there. Here are my pages now. Have one last check through to make sure that everything is where you want it to be. If you've got a half page like that, if you wanted it to be nearer the top, now's the time to do it, like so, because once we've put this book in and it's properly sewn in, we're in. Remember that we want one whole piece in the middle section of the book, because the stitches are going to go on the whole of the inside. Okay then, so we're going to get on and do that now. Somebody in the comments said something about how sometimes when they were working on a project like this that has a definite up and a down, sometimes they would find that they would have something upside down and only discover it when it was too late. Now's your chance to make sure you don't do that. So this is our first section, and I know that because we've got this little pocket here, and that's going to be on the front of my book. So I'll just put those two to one side for now. And now I'm going to just open this catalogue so that I've got a little bit of a valley here. Okay, and then making sure that my one last check of my pages, I'm going to put those pages in the valley. Now, this template here is the size of the cover, not the size of the pages. So when I line it up here, you can see that there's a bit sticking out because the pages are smaller than the cover. That's not a problem. another of the marks you can make if you want to is to mark the exact size of the cover. So I'm actually going to do that. I'm going to put that alongside here. It's a tiny bit at the top and the bottom. So I'm going to mark the top and the bottom of the covers just as a reference for me. Okay, so the reason why we've got this folded long ways like this is so that when I put the pages, carefully lining them all up, in the valley of my scrapbook here, it's actually quite a big valley. Can you see how it makes a really lovely cradle for these pages here? It makes them sit in there beautifully and not move. So I'm going to line the top of the template up there with that mark and the bottom of it with that mark. Put the template really firmly and press it down like so. And then with my awl and the middle hole here, I'm just going to press it into the spine of the book. You can hear it crunching into the spine of the catalogue. Okay, so that then is the first set of holes there. And I'm going to do that with the other two. Whoops, a daisy. Okay then, so we've got the holes in the spine, we've got the holes in the pages, and now we've got to put the whole lot together. Now, the whole time I've been doing this tutorial with you, I've always known that this day was going to come. And I've been trying to work out how to show you how to do this without confusing the living daylights out of you. So what I'm going to suggest is that you watch this, watch it again, ask me any questions that you might have about it if I've confused you, but I'm going to do the best I can to show you how to sew this in. I teach this to real people in the real world here in my workshop part of the house here. And it's really easy to teach it because I can show people, I can troubleshoot where they're getting things wrong. I can't do that with you. So I'm going to just do my best. Now, I want some of this stuff. I don't want masses. I don't teach this particular workshop to children, but there is another bookbinding workshop I teach to children. And when I'm telling them how much of this to get, I say, you want as much of this string so it's as tall as you are. Because what it really means, it doesn't actually matter, because we can join it on if it's too short and cut it off if it's too long. But too long is a nuisance, but they really like it. They really like measuring it against each other and cutting it off. It's great fun. So you can have it as tall as you if you like. But the thing about this is you don't want it so long that it tangles and makes you really cross when you're doing it, but you don't want it too short that you've got to keep on joining it on. You can join it on, it's not hard. So let's say I'm going to have it from that hand to that hand. Let's say that's how big I'm going to have it. Again, not really too bothered about measuring. Okay. Excuse me 1 minute, I'm going to go and get a glass of water. That's better. Okay guys, let's do this. The end of the string, put it against my blue, can fray out a little bit. That's good. That's to our advantage because we've got to try and get it through the small eye of this needle. Okay, it's through now. And I'm just going to put it through a little bit. This now is really firmly on here because it's strong string. If it isn't, if it isn't, then I need you probably to tie a knot on there so that it actually stays on there, just a tiny knot. Okay then, so here's our end here. Right, bear with me. We're going to be working with all three of these bundles and the cover together, and it'll feel like you need to be a bit of an octopus to start with, but once they're all established in the spine of the book, piece of cake. And once you get the rhythm of it, also a piece of cake. Now this is just my own personal way of doing this. I always start with the back signature. If you're a proper bookbinder, these sections are called signatures. We'll do a different kind of book in the future and I'll explain what all that's about. So this back bundle of papers then, I'm going to start with the back one. And I'm going to open it up. cat. I'm going to open this up and I'm going to put the thread through the bottom hole. Now, I just usually leave that hanging. There's a chink of sunlight coming through. It's going to annoy us. I'll just turn that sunshine off. So we go through the first hole on the last bundle of pages, and when it comes out of the back here, I'm going to move the camera. That's it. So we go through the first hole, come up, and then the corresponding hole on the spine is the bottom hole, and it's the last one. This is the back cover, and I'm going to go through the back cover with my string through to the other side. Now don't pull too tightly because this is hanging loose at the moment. We'll sort that out in a minute. Good, so we've done our first stitch there. There's one of my little threads. Let's pull that through. Now I'm going to do this zigzag design. So in order to do a zigzag, I have to go through that hole there and then into that hole there, so that I'm going to make the first part of this cross. So the second hole in the middle of the book means that I have to find the middle section of pages and the second hole. So there's the first hole. There's a bit of sunshine coming through, which is shining. I'll see if I can block that bit of sunshine out, beautiful though it is. Now block that bit of sunshine out there. Okay, so the thread then has come up through into the spine, into the inside of the spine, through the second hole in the middle of the cover there. So I need to find the corresponding hole. So that's my bottom hole there in my middle section. And so now I'm going to go through the second hole on my middle section from the outside of the cover to the inside. This is where sometimes you might need the little pair of pliers. Okay then. So now then, there's the first part of my zigzag. I've come up to the middle hole, through the middle hole in the spine, and I'm going to go back down through this hole now and through the middle hole on the spine. Don't get confused by this. It'll all become clear in a minute, I promise. Don't forget that this is just loose at the moment. We're going to come back and sort that out in a minute. So now we've got the first part of one cross, and we've come out at the bottom through the pages here, and then we're going to come into this hole here to make the other part of our zigzag here. So I'm going to put the needle in here. And now it comes through here, which is the second hole, but on the first row of holes in the spine. So now I need to find the first bundle of pages, open it up to where we made these holes, and looking at this, we'll call these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. So I'm in hole number 2 on the first row, and I'm going to go into hole number 2 on the first section, like so. Now these are all a bit loose still, but we can tighten them up in a minute. They're all a little bit sort of floppy. So there we go, and you can see, can't you, that what we have to do next is go through the first hole at the bottom there to come back out here. So that we've got two sides of the zigzag, and the next zigzag is going to go up here. And then, so the next stitch we need to take then, in order to make this cross, we need to go through the second hole, hole number 2, on the middle of the book, which also means then that I have to find the middle of the book, which is this section here, and then go through that hole there, and with a bit of luck, with the following wind, this is where it's a little tiny bit tricky, but hopefully you can see I'm actually finding my way into that second hole. Now all these are getting a little bit loose, but don't worry, because we'll sort out those in a minute. The beginning bit is always the hardest on these books. And so there we have our first cross. And now we need to go back down here on the inside. And then we go through the middle hole on the spine. Give it a bit of a pull. And you can see, can't you, in order to complete the crosses now, we need to go through this hole here, which is hole number 2 on the last run of holes, the last load of pages. So in going through hole number 2, I have to find the hole. I know this looks complicated, guys, but I promise you, once you get into the rhythm of this, it's actually a piece of cake. Don't give up, because we're just about finished the hardest part. Now when we come through this hole on the back section, what we find is we've met up with the very first bit of string that we put through, the tail, and I'm going to pull that carefully. Now there's a little tip about pulling. Always pull at right angles to the book, not up or down, because you can actually tear these pages here if you're not careful. And so we're going to line everything up, just check that the outside's looking okay, and it really is looking fabulous. Check that everywhere's nice and tight, yes it is, and then we go back to the inside of the back page here, and then what I'm going to do is just tie off a simple reef knot, square knot, whatever you want to call it. So right over left and under, and I usually try and make it go neatly towards one of the holes, finger on, left over right and under. And this string is perfect for this kind of thing because it holds the knots really, really, really carefully. And then I usually cut that off nice and short so that it doesn't get in my way anymore. Okay then, so the bottom stitches are done now. Now I know that it felt like that was like melting your brain, but don't worry, because you'll... Okay then, so now we look at where the string is coming out, and we look at where we need to be next. Now, there's lots of different patterns you can do, but what I'm going to do is a cross, 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 cross all the way up, because that's a nice, it looks nice, it holds the pages securely, and that's what we're going to do for the first one. Okay, so where are we? I'm going to go back through the hole that we came out of here, and through the spine hole. Sometimes it's easier if you go through the pages and then find the spine hole. There it is. Get hold of that. If you are going to use pliers to pull your needle through, one top tip is only put the pliers on the shaft of the needle and not on the eye. I've got a fair few needles in that pot there that have got the eyes all flattened because enthusiastic students have been pulling them by the eye. Okay. All right, so we're now out here on that hole. And you can tell now, the pages are held nice and securely now, but you can tell now where you need to go. You need to go there, and then back through there, and back through there, and then back the other way. And we're going to carry on and do that all the way up. So I need now to be in 1, 2, 3, hole number 3, and in the middle part of the book. So before I go through there, I'll find the middle of the book. That's the middle section there. I'll get my needle through that hole there, and then sometimes it's just this part's just a little bit tricky, but you can find the hole just by poking around with your blunt-ended tapestry needle. That's why it's a blunt-ended tapestry needle and not a sharp one, because a sharp one would just go through wherever it wanted to, where the blunt-ended one will actually seek around for the hole. Okay, so that's going to go through there. Okay, so that one's there now. And where I need to go now, I've done that diagonal. I need to be back through this hole here. So I'll go to the inside of the book again. And it's quite obvious, the only place I need to go there is there. It should be nicely lined up, so it'll come through quite easily. And now that it's nice and tight and tied off, you can give it a good pull. So the next one, following on from this cross now, I need to be here. I'm going to go through that hole there. And then I'm going to find where that hole is there, corresponding hole is there, for the front part of the book. Little pair of pliers might be useful here. And there's my second bit of the cross done. I need to go down to here now. It starts to become self-evident now. I promise you, it does. I'm trying to do this and show you, so it's a little bit trickier. So through there, like so. Give it a nice firm pull. And now I'm going to complete this cross by going through that hole there, and that's my middle section, which is here. It comes through the hole quite easily now because everything's starting to be aligned now. And then I go back down here again. Sometimes you will have double strings here. Back down here. And then that's where I need to be now. So I'm in the back section again. I'm going to go through that hole there, find my back section. It's just fiddly, guys. It's fiddly, that's all. But be patient. Sometimes I find it's useful just to put my needle in there so that it lines it up. And then when I'm looking for the hole, it's a bit easier. Or not. Yeah, this is the octopus kind of stage you're at now, where it would be helpful to have at least one extra hand. Now, we've done two of our crisscrosses here. What you'll find now is that the pages are beautifully held in place, so you can crack on now. You should be able to crack on now and do this quite quickly. Famous last words. Okay, so I'm just going to do this now without the benefit of me yakking on. Okay, I've stopped here because I've only got a little bit of the book left to do, and I could probably manage it with that, but I'm actually going to show you how to join on a new piece of thread in case you haven't got quite enough. So I'm going to cut off a little bit more here, and then I like to find things like this in the middle of my book. I don't mind that. If you do mind it, then I'd suggest that you make the join on the inside cover and tuck it underneath one of the pages. But for me, I quite like finding these little bits and pieces. It looks more homemade. So I'm going to do a right over left here, a left over right here with the new green thread. Put a different colour in if you like. And then I'm just going to make sure that that square knot, that reef knot, is as near to the hole as I can manage it. Pull it really, really tightly, snip those two off. You know, when I get to that part in the book, I'll actually quite like having a little nod to the fact that it's very, very homemade. Thread it up again and then just carry on as before. I'm nearly at the end. I probably could have managed it with that little bit, but I just wanted to show you how to join thread if you didn't have quite enough. This would be a lot easier if the needle had a slightly bigger eye, but I'd rather struggle with this little bit than struggle getting them through the holes. I really would. You could wax that if you found it wasn't going through enough, if it was fraying too much, but that's going to be fine. Okay, so we'll just carry on then and finish the book. There's only these last two little bits to do, and there's our join. Pull that nice and tightly, perfectly fine. So we need the centre section now, and we'll just crack on and finish this book. So that's all the stitching done, and now with my loose end here, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull it tightly, and then I'm going to pop it through here, and then I'm going to just do a half hitch, which is simply a knot like that. Through you go, through that stitch, make a loop like that, couple of half hitches, tie it off, and then again that's just snip it off and we're done. And that then is our finished book, beautifully bound. It's got our front pouch there. I was nervous about this. Yes, it's got our back pouch there. That's good. And then all these other pages inside here with the flaps and the pockets and so on, and it's done. I'm going to show you some other types of binding now, so that you might try those as well. There's other ways that I like to finish the spine off, and I'll show you a couple of them now. The New Zealand journal was done like this, but then there's this kind of spine as well. With this one, I just did intervals. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, with this one, I just left a gap in between. Measure that one out quite carefully so that if you've got blocks of 4, you don't run out and have a block of 1 at the end, or 3. Okay, but this is now where you can get creative. If you manage to do this one, which is a straightforward one, then you can actually play around now and do something like that. So this one here, it's still a crisscross, and so I've taken the thread from here to the middle, and then down here, and then along, and then all the way back up. And that one gives me 3 big crosses on the spine, but it's just still as good at holding all the pages in. So experiment, make your own designs up for the spines of your books. And now you're ready to go off on an adventure with your new journal. And make lots of them for Christmas presents or albums for whatever you want to put in them. I hope you've managed to follow that. Watch it again if there's any tricky bits, but fire off questions in the comments below if you want to, if any of that one wasn't clear. And don't worry about getting a bit physical with your book. You might have to. And just so as you know, we have got Cats here. She's been fast asleep over there the whole time. I'll see you next time, guys. Thanks so much for watching. Once it's in, it's in. But it is better to use a thinnish needle rather than a massive, great thick one, because you'll find it easier to get in to the holes that we've made. Okay. Nope. Okay, it's okay, it's okay. Once it's in, it's in. It's good. Another thing you can use is embroidery thread, 6 strands of embroidery thread. That's nice and strong as well. This is going on the blooper reel. Right, relax, Kate. You can do this. There you are. How many times have you done this before? Hundreds. Okay.